Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe in deeply and let go. Feel that? That is the sound of the universe whispering to you. Relax. Everything is coming to you. You see, your job is not to fight, struggle, or chase. Your job is to feel, to believe, and to rest in the knowing that it is already done. When you truly relax, you step into the flow of life, the divine rhythm where all things begin and end. You surrender the frantic energy of lack, and you begin to walk in the still confidence of one who already has. Think of the seed, buried in soil. It does not strive, it does not scream. It knows what it is becoming. It rests in the dark, trusting the light. And so must you. You don't have to figure out how it will come. You don't need to manipulate the world or people or time. You only need to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to dwell in the state where your desires are already yours. Imagine waking up tomorrow and knowing that everything you ever wanted is already seeking you. Imagine walking through life with the ease of someone who is no longer waiting but welcoming. This is not about pretending. It's about embodying the version of you that already has the love, the wealth, the health, the life you dream of. Don't let the outer world dictate your inner world. The outer is just a mirror. It reflects what you feel within. So today, make a choice. Act as if the deal is already closed. Speak as if the healing has already happened. Love as if they are already yours. Live as if the universe is rearranging all things just for you, because it is. The moment you shift your state, you shift your world. Let go and trust. You are not being ignored. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. And what is meant for you is not lost. It is making its way right now through paths you cannot yet see. So relax, beautiful soul. Act as if. Walk as if. Rest as if. Because the universe always fulfills the one who feels it first. Relax. Everything you desire is already yours. There is no need to strive, no need to struggle. The only effort required is the effort of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. All the force and energy you've ever expended chasing, begging, doubting, none of that is needed. Creation is finished. All possibilities exist. You are not trying to create anything. You are only selecting what already is. You are not waiting for your desire to come from outside of you. You are awakening to the truth that it has always been within you. The moment you accept it in imagination as real, it becomes real. The outer world is only a reflection of your inner state. If you are anxious, desperate, or afraid, the world must show you more reasons to feel the same. But if you are relaxed, confident, and faithful to your assumption, the world has no choice but to conform. You are the operant power. Nothing happens unless it is imagined first. The secret is in stillness. The secret is in rest. Not the rest of idleness, but the deep spiritual rest of knowing. When you know that you are already what you long to be, there is no conflict. When you walk in that state, the world reshapes itself to mirror your conviction. Do not concern yourself with how it will happen. That is not your domain. The how belongs to the bridge of incidents which you do not need to manipulate. Life has its own unseen ways of orchestrating what you have accepted as true. Your task is simple. Dwell in the feeling. Live in the end. Occupy the state. Rest in the knowing. That which you claim inwardly must externalize itself. The more you relax, the more natural the assumption becomes. It is like drifting into sleep, effortless yet powerful. You do not will yourself to dream, you simply fall asleep. And so it is with imagination. You do not force the scene, you yield to it. You surrender to the vision. You allow the unseen to feel more real than what your senses report. Your imagination is the only reality, all else is shadow. So when you relax into your imagined world, you are entering the only truth that matters. Others may laugh or argue, but they are only revealing their own inner states. You are never reacting to them. You are only reacting to your own assumption of what is true. Change that, and you change the entire play. Let the outer world do what it will. Your inner world is sovereign. Remain faithful to the unseen. Even if everything contradicts your assumption, hold fast to the feeling. Live there, dine there, speak from there. As you persist in the feeling, you begin to notice subtle shifts, not because you made them happen, but because you allowed them. You relaxed, you trusted, you entered the Sabbath. This is not about doing more, it is about knowing more deeply. The more you believe that all things come from within, the less you chase and the more you receive. You will see doors open where there were none. You will feel movement without pushing. You will encounter people, events, and circumstances that you could never have planned. All because you dared to relax and know it is already done. Creation is finished. This single truth holds the key to the entire mystery of manifestation. Every possible version of your life already exists in the infinite mind of God, in the limitless expanse of imagination. You are not here to create something new from nothing. You are here to awaken to what already is. The desires that rise within you are not random. Each desire is like a message, a signal from a version of yourself that is already living the life you now long for. The moment you become aware of that desire, it is proof that the thing desired is already part of your potential experience. It has already been created. The script is written. All you must do is step into the scene and play the role. You do not need to beg life to give you what you want. There is no higher power withholding your good, waiting for you to prove yourself worthy. You are not trying to get something from the world. You are trying to wake up to who you already are. When you assume that your desire is fulfilled, when you occupy the state of the wish fulfilled in imagination, you are not forcing something into existence. You are aligning with the version of you for whom that thing is already real. You are living with things that are a version of you, for whom that thing is already real. You are shifting your consciousness, moving from one state to another, from one dimension of experience to another. The outer world does not need to change first. The change occurs in your inner world. And what you call the future is simply the unfolding of that inner change in time. This is why it is said that all things are possible. Not because you can somehow force the impossible to become possible, but because everything already exists. You do not need to make your dream real. It is real. You only need to make it real to yourself. It must become so alive in your imagination that you begin to live from it rather than toward it. It must feel like home. It must feel natural. The minute you see yourself as already being, doing, or having the thing you desire, you have stepped into that reality. And the world must rearrange itself to reflect your new state of being. What we call manifestation is nothing more than the movement of awareness. You are always manifesting. The question is not whether you are manifesting, but what you are manifesting. You are selecting realities with every assumption you hold, every belief you entertain, every feeling you dwell in. The process is unconscious for most, but it is always active. Once you become conscious of the fact that creation is finished, you begin to take deliberate control of your experience. You begin to select with intention rather than default. You stop reacting and start assuming. You no longer ask, will it come to me? You know it already exists, and your only job is to accept it inwardly. This is not mental fantasy. This is the true spiritual science. The world is a mirror, and it reflects your dominant inner assumptions. You are not waiting for your desire to happen. You are simply becoming aware of it as already fulfilled. And this awareness draws to you everything that aligns with your new state of consciousness. It is done by feeling. It is done by assuming the inner tone of reality that matches the life you wish to live. It is not about seeing to believe. It is about believing to see. The act of faith is the act of imaginative appropriation. When you feel it real, when you live inwardly as though it were already yours, you have entered the state from which the outer expression must emerge. This is why trying hard, forcing outcomes, and obsessing over results leads to frustration, because it denies the finished nature of creation. It says, this does not exist yet, and I must struggle to make it happen. But the truth is that it already is. And the more you strive, the more you affirm its absence. The more you try, the more you separate yourself from the reality you seek. The answer is not effort. The answer is alignment. The answer is resting in the knowing that it is already done, and your work is only to claim it through feeling and assumption. To live from the end is to acknowledge that creation is finished. You no longer look at life as a journey of chasing, you see it as a journey of remembering. You are not becoming something new, you are returning to what has always been true in imagination. Every version of you exists now. The poor version, the wealthy version, the sick version, the healed version, the lonely version, the loved version. These are not goals to work toward, they are realities to be inhabited. When you change your state of consciousness, you change the version of life you experience. This is the freedom you have been given, the power to choose, not through external action, but through internal assumption. You are free to be whoever you decide to be. And the way you make that decision is by imagining from the desire, not of the desire. To imagine from the desire is to assume it is already true. To imagine of it is to look at it as something distant, something to reach for. The latter keeps it always out of reach. The former brings it into your now. All this is possible because the end is already written. You are not creating reality, you are revealing it. You are awakening to it. The path, the people, the circumstances. All of it will unfold as a natural consequence of your inner state. There is nothing to force. There is nothing to chase. There is only the deep, quiet, inner act of knowing. The most powerful thing you can do is to assume it is already so and rest in that assumption. Let the world do what it will. Let appearances shout the opposite. You remain unmoved because you know creation is finished and you have already received. Imagination is the only reality. It may appear that the outer world is the solid, immovable truth, but that is a grand illusion. What you see, touch, and experience with your physical senses is not the source of your life's events. It is the effect. The real cause lies within, and that cause is imagination. Everything you have ever experienced, every moment, every person, every so-called coincidence has its roots in an unseen world. And that world is shaped and formed by what you dare to believe to be true, what you feel and accept inwardly without evidence, without reason, without external support, is what eventually hardens into fact. This is not fantasy. This is law. Imagination is not idle daydreaming. It is creative power. It is the force by which all things are made visible. The problem arises when people look to the external world to validate their internal desires. They wait for the outer picture to change before they allow themselves to feel something new within. But the outer picture is nothing more than the projection of past states of consciousness. It is the shadow cast by your inner assumption. Trying to change the shadow without changing the light source is futile. So the only effective way to shift your reality is to go within and assume the state you wish to see reflected. This assumption is not done with strain or desperation, it is done with feeling. You must feel your new reality inwardly, as if it were already true. You must walk, talk, think, and move from the premise that you already are the person you long to be. This is the great secret. You are not becoming, you are being. And what you are being in imagination will manifest itself in time. The world responds not to your words, not even to your outer actions, but to the tone of being you carry within. Your inner speech, your mental conversations, your habitual self-talk. These are the builders of your world. They are the blueprint from which reality is constructed. You do not need to see proof. Proof is the final step. The unseen, when felt deeply and accepted without resistance, becomes seen. You are not asked to believe blindly, you are asked to believe wisely. To believe with understanding, knowing that the unseen imaginal act is more real than the present facts. Because present facts are simply manifestations of past beliefs. If you want to change your life, change your imagination. The world you experience is always catching up to the world you have imagined. This is why patience is needed, not because manifestation is slow, but because your faith must remain steady while the outer picture adjusts. Many people imagine failure, rejection, delay, and difficulty more vividly than they imagine success, love, ease, and abundance. And then they wonder why life feels heavy. They do not realize they are planting seeds of limitation every time they dwell in doubt. Your imagination does not discriminate. It does not say yes to the good and no to the bad. It simply produces according to the nature of the seed. What you accept as true within, whether it be empowering or disempowering, must show up without. So if you imagine yourself as powerless, even with great effort in the world, you will continue to encounter obstacles. But if you imagine yourself as powerful, whole, and already possessing what you seek, the world will respond in kind. This is the reason you must guard your imagination more carefully than you guard your bank account, because your imagination is the source of your wealth. It is the root of every condition in your life. What you continually accept in the silence of your mind will shape the experiences of your waking world, and there is no outer force working against you. If there is resistance, it is only within. If there is delay, it is only in your doubt. The moment you surrender to the truth of your desire and dwell in it with full acceptance, you will begin to see signs of movement in the most unexpected ways. This is not about trying harder, it is about imagining better. You are not asked to manipulate circumstances, you are invited to assume the state of consciousness that would produce the outcome you want. If you want to be loved, imagine yourself as already cherished. If you want to be healthy, see yourself as already vibrant. If you want to be free, walk in the feeling of already being free. Let the outer world say what it will. Let people give their opinions and express their fears. None of that matters unless you take it into your own imagination. And that you have the power to control. You are not at the mercy of the world. You are the maker of it. Not through physical might, but through the silent inner power of imagination. You are always using this power. The question is, are you using it deliberately, or are you allowing it to be shaped by the noise of the world? Every time you say I am, followed by a feeling or belief, you are claiming an identity. And the world must reflect that identity back to you. So if you say I am always overlooked, that is the world you will know. But if you change the phrase to I am always seen, valued, and loved, and you repeat it until it becomes natural, the outer world will have no choice but to conform to your new assumption. The laws of reality are not punishing or rewarding, they are neutral. They simply reflect back what you consistently imagine. And if you persist in imagining a new life, it will come. It must come. It is law. But your task is not to worry about how or when. Your task is only to persist in the inner knowing, to dwell more in the unseen than in the seen, to trust the invisible more than the visible, because the visible is temporary, but the unseen is eternal. You are the creator of form through the formless. You are the shaper of experience through the unseen language of imagination. And once you understand that imagination is the only reality, you stop reacting to the outer world. You become calm, centered, and powerful. You stop chasing and you start allowing. You stop resisting and you start receiving. You realize that life is not happening to you, it is responding to you. It is echoing your internal state. You no longer fight circumstances, you change your self-concept. You no longer complain, you assume, and in that assumption, the world bends. Not because it is fragile, but because you are powerful. And all that you see around you is clay in the hands of your own consciousness. To live in the end means to assume the feeling that your desire is already fulfilled, and to make that inner state more real to you than anything the outer world may present. It is not about imagining the process or wondering about the steps, but fully embracing the outcome as if it were already your present moment. It is to close your eyes and feel the scene so deeply that when you open them again, the world outside must eventually match the reality you have claimed within. You are not waiting. You are not hoping. You are being. The power of living in the end lies in detachment from the present conditions and identification with the unseen truth you have accepted. If you seek wealth, you must assume the feeling of one who is already wealthy. Not one who is becoming wealthy, not one who is trying to earn more, but one who already possesses it and moves through life with that certainty. If you desire love, you must feel yourself already in the relationship, already chosen, already secure. If you desire health, you must inhabit the body that is whole, strong, and vibrant, even if your senses show otherwise. You are not ignoring facts. You are replacing them with truth. This is the greatest act of faith, to believe in what you cannot see and to persist in that belief until it becomes your new reality. The moment you imagine the end with clarity and emotion, you have already planted the seed. You need not repeat it endlessly. What you must do is live from it. You walk differently, speak differently, make choices from that new identity. Your actions are not to make it happen, but to express that it already has. There is no need to force anything, no need to try to influence others or manipulate events. Living in the end is the quiet, confident knowing that what you are now being is what you will soon see. The challenge comes when outer circumstances contradict your inner assumption. Perhaps your bank account remains empty, your body shows symptoms, or the person you love seems distant. But if you give attention to these appearances, if you let them sway your inner state, you fall back into the old version of self, the one who lacks, who waits, who doubts. The test is not in whether or not you can imagine, it is in whether or not you can remain faithful to that imagination in the face of contradiction. Can you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even when all senses scream otherwise? That is the measure of inner mastery. And to live in the end is to eliminate the idea of time as a barrier. You are not saying, I will be, or one day it will come. You are saying, it is now. Time bends to the force of assumption. It has no power over you when you stand firm in the end. The world responds not to the calendar or clock, but to your dominant state of consciousness. And that state is entirely under your control. You do not have to wait for change. You only need to dwell in the change within. As you do, time collapses, and what once seemed far becomes present. Many people imagine the steps, hoping to figure out how their desire will come. They get lost in the middle. But the middle is not your concern. Life has infinite ways of bringing you what you have accepted. Your job is not to choreograph the dance of the universe. Your job is to feel the music within. When you live in the end, you trust that the bridge of incidents will appear. You do not need to know what they will look like. You simply follow the nudges, take inspired action from your new state, and allow the world to unfold in ways that seem both natural and miraculous. This is not passive living. It is the most active state of inner control. You are declaring with every breath that you are already the person you desire to be. You are not trying to become, you are choosing to be. The gap between desire and fulfillment is only bridged by identity, and you choose your identity in every moment. When you walk as though you already are, the world must agree. It must rearrange itself to match your declaration. The people you meet, the opportunities that arise, the changes in your environment. They are all echoes of the inner shift you have made. The outer world cannot help but reflect your inner conviction. If you feel lack, you will see lack. If you feel abundance, you will attract abundance. Living in the end means you no longer seek validation outside. You no longer ask, is it working? Because the answer is already yes. You feel it, you live it, you breathe it. You no longer wait to be chosen. You know you are already chosen. You no longer strive to be seen. You know you are already visible in the mind of creation. You are not a beggar. You are a creator, and your assumption is the substance of your world. This way of being brings peace, because when you know it is done, you stop worrying. You stop looking over your shoulder. You stop chasing. There is nothing to chase when you are already it. This peace is not indifference, it is power. The quiet confidence of one who knows that the invisible reality is more solid than the visible. You may not yet touch it with your hands, but you feel it with your soul. And that feeling is the signal that calls all things to align. To live in the end is to use your imagination with precision. You construct scenes that imply your desire is fulfilled. You see yourself receiving the promotion, enjoying the relationship, celebrating your success, and you feel the naturalness of it. You let it be normal, not distant or grand, but part of your now. You replay these scenes not to force them, but to dwell in them. And as you saturate your mind with this assumption, your subconscious begins to accept it. Once accepted, it becomes law, and what is impressed on the subconscious must be expressed. Even when the world contradicts you, you remain unmoved. Not because you are stubborn, but because you are aligned. You know that the outer world is just delayed evidence. You no longer look for signs, you become the sign. You embody the outcome so completely that reality has no choice but to catch up. And when it does, you will not be surprised. You will smile quietly, knowing that it was already yours the moment you accepted it within. Relax and trust the bridge of incidents. Once the inner assumption has been made, once you have accepted the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your role is no longer to make it happen, but to rest in the knowing that it is already done. The how, the when, the method, the people involved, these are not your concern. They are not within your control, nor do they need to be. What you call coincidence, chance, or unexpected opportunity is simply the natural unfolding of the path to your assumption. Life rearranges itself to match your new inner state, but it does so in its own perfect rhythm, with intelligence far beyond the reasoning mind. You are not asked to figure out the mechanics of the manifestation. You are asked to assume the end and rest. When you imagine and feel the wish fulfilled, you have already activated a sequence of events, a movement in consciousness that will carry you to the physical realization of that state. This sequence is the bridge of incidents, an invisible chain of events, often subtle, often strange, but always inevitable, always connected. You may not see the connection in the moment. You may not understand how one event leads to another, but if you look back in hindsight, you will see how perfectly it was orchestrated. The right people appear, the necessary information arrives, the unexpected twist opens the door. It happens without your conscious effort, and yet it aligns precisely with the assumption you held within. When you become anxious, when you try to manipulate the process, you interrupt the flow. You signal that you do not trust the unseen intelligence that has already begun its work. The need to control the how stems from doubt. It reveals a lack of faith in the creative power of imagination. But when you truly know that the thing is already yours, you feel no need to question how it will come. You relax, you let go. You follow your day with openness, knowing that each step is part of the unfolding. You are not passive, you are attentive. You are not idle, you are receptive. You move with inspiration rather than desperation. There is a profound calm that comes when you understand this truth. You realize that your only task is to remain faithful to the state of the wish fulfilled. Everything else is taken care of. Your assumptions determine what version of life you experience, and once the assumption is made, the world must conform. You will be led, sometimes gently, sometimes through what appears to be chaos, but always led. Trust does not mean inaction. It means no longer forcing. It means allowing life to meet you where you already are, in consciousness. So, discovering that and forcing life, sometimes the bridge includes what may seem like failure or loss. But these are never endings. They are adjustments. They are redirections. They are shifts in the outer world that make room for your assumption to manifest. If something falls away, it is only because it no longer matches the state you now dwell in. If someone leaves, it is because their presence no longer supports the version of reality you have chosen. Do not mourn the pieces that fall away. Celebrate them. They are proof that the old world is dissolving and the new one is taking form. The bridge of incidents is not always logical. It rarely unfolds in the way the conscious mind expects. You may think your desire must come through a particular person or event, but the infinite intelligence guiding your life knows a better way. Often what you assumed would be the answer fades from your experience, and something entirely unexpected takes its place. Let it. Release your grip on how it should happen. The more rigid you are about the form, the more you delay its arrival. The more relaxed and trusting you are, the faster and smoother the process becomes. There is great beauty in watching the bridge unfold. The phone call that arrives at the perfect time. The chance meeting with someone who has the exact answer you need. The seemingly unrelated event that triggers a chain reaction leading directly to your manifestation. These are not random. These are not accidents. They are signs that your world is reconfiguring itself to match your assumption. And the more you trust, the more these moments appear with ease and grace. You are never stuck. If it seems like nothing is happening, look again. Often the work is occurring behind the scenes, beyond the reach of your senses. Seeds germinate in silence before they break through the soil. So it is with your assumptions. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean there is none. Remain still inwardly. Remain faithful to the end you have imagined. Continue to feel it real, to walk in that state, to let that version of you become your natural dwelling place. And the bridge will carry you, step by step, moment by moment, toward the fulfillment of that which already exists in consciousness. Even your impulses are part of the bridge. The sudden idea, the inner nudge, the change of heart, all of these are hints. Listen to them, follow them when they feel aligned. You will find yourself saying yes to things you would have once ignored, or turning away from paths you would have once pursued. This is not fear or doubt, it is alignment. It is life guiding you, whispering through your intuition, moving you in the direction of your chosen end. Do not dismiss the small things. Often the bridge begins with something so simple that it could easily be overlooked, but follow it and it will lead you. When you trust the bridge, you remove the burden from your shoulders. You stop asking, what should I do? And instead ask, who am I now? And when the answer is, I am the one who already has it, you let that feeling carry you through each day. You show up differently. You speak differently. Not because you're pretending, but because you are being. The bridge is not something you force. It is something you allow. It is the path that life takes to bring the invisible into visibility. This trust, this surrender, this relaxed expectation is what allows the unseen to become seen. It is not a lazy hope. It is a confident knowing. You know it is done, and because you know, you stop trying, you stop doubting, you stop chasing. You begin to move with peace, speak with clarity, and live from a state of already being. And in that state, the bridge reveals itself. One step, then another, one moment, then the next. You look back and realize it was perfect all along. Persistence in the assumption is the secret to mastering the unseen forces that shape your world. It is not enough to imagine once, to feel the desire as fulfilled for a fleeting moment, and then fall back into doubt or confusion. True transformation happens when you return again and again to the inner state of the wish fulfilled, until it becomes your new dwelling place. You must persist in that assumption, not as an act of willpower or strain, but as a gentle, steady returning to the truth you have chosen to believe. The mind is filled with patterns, memories, and reactions that try to pull you back into the familiar. And the familiar, though often uncomfortable, feels safe to the old self. But if you wish to experience something new, you must remain faithful to the new version of yourself. You must persist until the assumption becomes so natural, so alive within you, that the world around you bends to match it. This persistence is not about forcing or pretending, it is about embodying. When you persist in the assumption, you claim it again and again in thought, feeling, and identity. You wake up with it. You carry it through your day. You go to sleep in it. You do not allow the outer world to determine your inner reality. Instead, you let your inner conviction determine how you interpret the outer world. Everything you encounter either supports your assumption or offers you the chance to deepen it. Even apparent setbacks are simply opportunities to affirm your chosen state with more clarity and power. The great temptation is to look at appearances and declare that nothing is changing, to check for signs, to measure progress, to ask, where is it? But these questions come from the old state, the one that lacks, the one that waits. When you are truly living from the end, there is no need to check. You already know. The outer world becomes secondary, like a shadow following your step. You understand that manifestation is not about making something happen, but about remaining loyal to a truth that is already unfolding. You are not asking life to give you something. You are giving yourself permission to be it, here and now. The world may offer tests. You may experience moments where everything appears to contradict your inner vision. People may speak words that conflict with your belief. Circumstances may appear unchanged. But these are not signs of failure. They are simply echoes of past assumptions. And as long as you do not react, as long as you do not fall back into the old state, these appearances will dissolve. They only persist when you give them attention, when you assign them meaning. Persistence is not about ignoring the world. It is about interpreting it from the state you have chosen. You look at the same situation and say, this, too, is working for me. You do not resist what is, you align with what must be. Every time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you impress the subconscious mind. And the subconscious, once impressed, takes that feeling and expresses it in form. But it must be impressed again and again through repetition and emotion. Not mechanical repetition, but vivid emotional engagement. You persist by feeling it real over and over until it no longer feels like effort. It feels like home. You become so saturated with the feeling that you no longer need to try to believe. You simply do. The power of persistence lies in its simplicity. You are not adding effort, you are adding consistency. You are no longer letting the outer world dictate your moods. You are no longer shifting between states with every new circumstance. You have chosen your identity and now you remain loyal to it. That loyalty is magnetic. It draws everything to you that matches your assumption. The right people, the right opportunities, the right timing. You do not need to hunt for them. They come because you are living in the state where they naturally appear. Persistence also builds trust. At first, the new assumption may feel unfamiliar, even false, but as you persist, your nervous system adapts. Your mind becomes comfortable with the new belief. It begins to feel normal to imagine yourself wealthy, loved, free, successful. And what feels normal becomes your reality. The mind does not create based on what is true, it creates based on what is accepted as true. And persistence is the process by which you teach your mind to accept the new truth. You do not need to feel perfect every moment. You may waver, you may doubt. But the key is to return. Again and again, return to the state you have chosen. Reclaim it, reaffirm it, rest in it. It is not about never falling. It is about always rising. With each return, you strengthen the new pattern. You rewire your self-concept. And eventually the assumption becomes who you are. You no longer have to think about it. You live it. And when you live it, the world reflects it automatically. The outer world does not resist you, it simply reflects you. And persistence is what allows that reflection to shift. You hold the new state long enough, and the mirror must show a new image. But it does not happen on demand. It happens through natural unfolding. Just as a seed becomes a tree through quiet persistence, your inner state becomes outer experience through sustained belief. You do not dig up the seed to check on it. You water it, you nurture it. You trust the process. So it is with your assumption. You do not question it daily. You dwell in it. And in that dwelling, the change takes place. You will find that as you persist, life begins to feel easier. Not because the world has changed, but because your relationship to it has. You are no longer reacting, you are creating. You are no longer a victim of chance, you are the author of your experience. And each day that you persist, your conviction deepens. You no longer ask whether it will happen, you know it is already happening. That knowing is your anchor, your power, your peace. And from that state, all things are possible.